Lake Champlain forecast. Severe thunderstorm watch 835 in effect until 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this evening. Flash flood watch in effect from 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time this evening through Tuesday morning. Some thunderstorms may produce damaging winds, large hail and heavy rainfall until midnight. Visibility 3 to 5 miles. And now the extended forecast for the radio listening area. Wednesday, mostly sunny.
Jeez.
Ever since college, we wanted to circumnavigate Lake Champlain, a small lake between the border of Vermont and New York. We thought it'd be as easy as buying a boat, raising the sails, making a cool film, and having a great trip. So we bought a boat, gathered gear, stocked up on peanut butter, and made sure everything was watertight. In mid-September, with our heads full of grand adventure, we set sail for the first time. Unfortunately, we didn't know how to sail, or film for that matter. We put our boat in Mallett's Bay, and for 2 months we sailed the waters of Lake Champlain. We would go out for 3 or 4 days at a time before coming in to charge batteries, resupply on food, and use the bathroom. We slept in the cockpit with our gear crammed in the forward cabin. If it rained, we'd throw a tarp over the boom and hide out underneath, but it was never very watertight. Willson goes down to check the anchor on our first anchorage. I think it looks fun and want to join him. Preparing for the event of a capsize, we find it prudent to test our ability to right the boat, and I set up a camera on shore to capture on video. One of these operations was successful. With winter fast approaching, I found it harder and harder to motivate myself with man overboard drills, and I found it odd that my practice always involved a life jacket. Unfortunately, we never left Mallett's Bay. But next year, we promise to try again. But as we prepared to launch the boat, I couldn't help but have flashbacks to the year prior. Would things go right this time? Would we ever leave Mallett's Bay? My car could not back far enough into the water, and the boat would not come off the trailer. The engine gave us trouble on the first day. Not only could we not get the mixture of oxygen and gasoline correct, we ripped the pull cord right off. Turns out our dinner was rotten too. That night we were hit by our first lightning storm. Sleeping under a 30-foot lightning rod does not make for the best sleep. Lake Champlain is only 150 miles long, and a motorboat could easily traverse it in a day. We were not looking to set any speed records for our trip. We sailed first to Port Kent, New York, then Burlington, waited out another lightning storm in Shelburne Bay, explored Rock Dunder and the Four Brothers, spent several days sailing Converse Bay and Split Rock Point. We would go ashore, investigate the landscape, and spend quiet nights on the boat reading or looking at the stars. Willson tries the portable toilet for the first time. We learn aim is paramount. Heading south and out of sight of Mallett's Bay, we were feeling pleased with ourselves. We were on our way to circumnavigating Lake Champlain. Turns out we still had a lot to learn. While raising the main in heavy winds, we cut the sail in a stay and ripped a hole. Sailing the broad lake was much less terrifying in practice than it had been in theory, and we loved how we could sail long tacks while hardly touching the tiller. But as much as I loved sailing the broad lake, I decided Willson could use the PFD for his man-overboard practices too. As with our last trip, we collected all of our drinking water out of Lake Champlain, and this year we charged all our batteries off of a solar charger. And though we still slept out in the cockpit, we were happy to have a cabin to crawl into if the weather got bad. 3 weeks into our trip, the character of the lake changed. It went from 10 miles wide and 300 feet deep to 1 mile wide and 80 feet deep. Navigating the ferry channel proved stressful due to our unreliable engine. Perhaps because there was less water to dilute runoff, we found the water a murky brown and could not effectively treat it for drinking. We collected what drinking water we could from rain, but needed to go to shore to resupply in fresh water. After filling our water bottles, we decided to check out the historical landmarks at Crown Point, near the spot where the famous French explorer Samuel de Champlain used firearms to help Algonquin tribes decisively win a battle over their rivals the Iroquois. Though the lake bears his name, Samuel de Champlain never returned to Lake Champlain. Further down the lake, Willson experiments with a new way of stabilizing our sit-on-top kayak, outside the walls of the once crumbling Fort Ticonderoga. After the American Revolution, farmers pillaged stones from the fort to build farmhouses. The fort has since been reconstructed and is a popular site for historical reenactments. Realizing their guns were trained on us, we decided to head back north to friendlier waters. Though the rain made for long sailing days, we were happy to have drinking water to carry us through the southern lake. Going into our trip, we had expected to be surrounded by forests and pristine landscapes. The reality is that much of Lake Champlain's shoreline is developed. Far cry from the way native inhabitants, or Samuel de Champlain, experienced the lake 400 years ago. When we arrived back on the broad lake, we realized we were behind schedule. In a string of long sailing days, we took advantage of high winds to speed us toward the border. After another 2 weeks of sailing, Willson spots a small sign written in French. The Canadian border, our most northerly point. The same wind that sped us quickly toward the border brought with it the chill of a quickly approaching fall. We had sailed from Mallett's Bay to Fort Ticonderoga, north to the Canadian border, and into the inland sea. We had been boarded by Border Patrol, nearly drifted over the Canadian border without a passport, learned that our sit-on-top kayak could double as a sea anchor, at the most inopportune time, nearly drowned an old man who was simply offering us his mooring for the night, learned that 20 feet apart is not a very far distance. We had our worst fight over whether the surface of the water would classify as wavelets or scale-like structure. After 2 months of sailing and years of dreaming, we had circumnavigated Lake Champlain.
That's the trailer just far enough.